Hi crafters, welcome to Finish It Friday, episode 194. So here's where we left off on Wednesday. We have our base card. This one happens to be a side fold, and it is 4 1/4 by 11, scored at 5.5. And then we have a bunch of squares. I said anywhere from 15 to 20. It should probably say 12 to 20, but we'll go from there. All right, for this layout, I am going to grab one of my blending brushes and I'm going to get one of my spots from the side here. And I think I am going to use Flirty Flamingo. And we're going to do a little bit of a background. Now, I know I'm going to use this phrase down here. So I want, there we go. So I want this to be right about there as a good solid line where we stop our blending. All right. And I find when you have a spot and you're not using a full size, I like going the spot to the brush. Take a little of that extra off. Oops. Let's just go ahead and start doing some blending. We're just wanting to give a little bit of a color background here so that white paper will pop against it. Getting those edges so we get a nice little mark. We'll have a crisp line down here at the bottom. All right, I think that looks pretty good. All right, so let's go ahead and let's stamp that greeting down there. We're also going to do that in the Flirty Flamingo. So let's just get some ink on there. Get it somewhat straight. Now the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use this thank you. And I'm going to have my squares go around that thank you. So I'm thinking at this point that I'm going to skip this top row. I think we're just going to go here. I just want to kind of get my lines down so I kind of know where I'm going to go. And I am going to let this fall off that line just a little. So I'm thinking that that's going to be pretty good there. So I put these across here and I put these down here. Yes, I think that'll look good. All right, so let's go ahead and we're going to stamp that. Now I think I am going to do it. No, I'm going to do it in black. Only because I feel like against that pink, if I do the pink on pink, I think it's going to be almost too matchy-matchy and maybe it won't show up. So I am going to take this, I'm going to stamp it off once. And I'm going to go right there in that center. Might be going a little downhill. That's okay. We can live with that. All right, so now let's go ahead and let's get these out and let's start laying down these circles. These squares. Oh, it's been a week, people. It has been a week. And I'm going very, very thin with that glue. I don't want any of it to smush out. And see, I have that about the same distance at the top and at the side. Now this is thinner than that because we're going over that line down here, so we know that it's going to be just a little bit wider on the side than it is at the top and bottom. Let's get a little more here. Let's leave just a little bit of space there. And then this is going to come down like that. But we don't want it to come down so far that we cover up those words. I think we're going to be fine. So let's put very thin amounts of glue. You could use your Stampin' Seal if you wanted to. That would definitely work. I just chose to use glue so I have a little bit of wiggle room. All right, so we're going to finish the bottom part of this frame. All right, so we know, let's kind of figure this out here. So we have it just barely there. I think that'll be okay. As you can see, this is a lot wider than it will be at the sides. So it's going to kind of trick the eye because the eye tends to want to see patterns. And when it doesn't match up exactly, your eye kind of doesn't know where to look. So that's why I think that these words will kind of ground it and kind of forgive for not having the same boundaries, gutters, whatever you want to call them, across the card. All right, let's get this one done. I am going to keep that top really thin border though up here. I could get out my T ruler, but I'm not worried about it being exact. So let's just finish these up here. I'm afraid that I'm going to not run out of glue, but I have the glue, so I'm not keeping it upside down. I'm keeping it like this, so I get very little to my nozzle when I do squeeze, but then you run the risk of having a blob come out all at once. So hopefully that won't happen. All right, and I am seeing now, I'm going to leave this here. I should have brought this over a little more. See how that's coming up into the U? So this one is going to be just a little bit more over. And this I didn't get quite up high enough. Let's see if I have enough time to get that off before it becomes permanent. Let's get up there a little bit more so I have that thin border at the top again. There we go. If you wanted everything to be completely lined up on a grid, I guess you should buy some Hallmark cards, because these are handmade cards and they're going to have slight imperfections that make them unique. So there we have that. Let's grab out some embellishments. These are the 2026 to 2028 in color dots. I like this Barely Blush, I think that's what it's called, because it is going to lend to the lightness of the card. I don't know if you noticed, but I kind of use this to kind of make sure that those are somewhat straight. Yeah, you can always use your tools. So see, as I was putting that down, I was seeing that that one was kind of in the same, within the same parameters, the same distance. All right. There's our card for today. Now I will go and store that upside down. Get a little of this cleaned up here so we don't have a lot of distractions. All right, so here's our card for today. You know what, let me grab my little towel here. Get up that ink from the side there. All right, let me show you the other cards I did. Here's this one. This is kind of that offsetting shadow look. So this is some old retired paper. Again, I'm trying to use up a lot of my old DSP. So you're going to see a lot of retired designer series paper or DSP from me in the upcoming videos. So here I just offset those circles to make that square shadow look. Here I put the squares on an angle and, you know, did the cutting off the edge. Again, you can see some places I didn't get my lines exactly flush, but I think it works. All right, there's your cards for our episode. Finish It Friday, episode 194. Go ahead and shoot me a comment. Give me that thumbs up if you don't mind. Share with your friends. Subscribe if you haven't already subscribed to my channel. Most of all, have a great day and a fabulous weekend. Bye for now.